A judge will hear a dispute over an apartment building in Boulder tomorrow. The city tried to shut down Ash House on University Hill on Monday. The city says the property owner added additional bedrooms to the private off-campus housing without city approval. A judge granted a temporary restraining order requested by the property owner that allows students for now to move back in while the order is being challenged in a court. A hearing is set for tomorrow on that order, but this morning we want to talk about the rights those students have. So we have 9 News legal expert Whitney Traylor here with us this morning. Thanks for coming in.
Sure, good to be here.
This is so tough for the kiddos, first of all, because they're in the middle of just trying to get through all of their classes and everything, and they're given like 5 hours to get out.
Yeah, this was really extreme and kind of an anomaly in that the city came in, and it sounds like it was a tenant complaint that they had added this additional, they had gotten approval for 3 bedrooms on these 16 units, and they went through the inspection process and got that all worked out. After the fact, they added this 4th bedroom. And I think that was last year. And so they got a complaint this year, and they went by, they did a 40-minute kind of walk around and saw that they didn't get electrical permits or building permits for that 4th bedroom. And so immediately they gave them this notice of closure. And so, as you said, the kiddos had they had really no options. And so the property owner then went and filed this temporary restraining order and was successful in holding off everybody having to move out. So now we're going to have this hearing tomorrow to see what ultimately happens.
Yeah, these students are like, we didn't do anything wrong. We're like,
Right.
we need a place to lay our head. You know, some of them are out-of-state students, and so it's a really tough situation. So what rights do students have?
Well, students will have rights similar to every other tenant. And Colorado is a very tenant-friendly place. And so, the starting place is definitely going to be the lease and what's contained in the lease. Now, this is a little bit different because there may or may not be a section in the lease dealing with condemnation, which is essentially what this was, but there's state law that protects them. So in this case, if they had to go out and ultimately get another place to live and it was more expensive, they could recover those damages. So they could go after the landlord and get some protection there.
So for this one, they were asked for August and September rent, 2 months worth. If this is deemed like you can't move in, will they get that money back?
Yeah, they will. If they've paid it, for sure they'll get it back. But then certainly if they have additional costs like moving costs and additional rent that they'll have to pay or a higher rent than what they've been paying, they'll be able to recover that. But the problem is, and this is really with any kind of dispute, if you can't negotiate it, then you have to go litigate. And so if and this is for everybody in their everyday life, I'll sue, I have a right, and you may have that right, but going through a litigation process, it's time consuming. It's like, that's the last thing you want to deal with.
Yeah, it's a headache for really everyone involved. So what should students, renters really in general know?
Yeah, well, I would say start with the lease. Know what's in your lease. And I've been the family lawyer for years and years,
Sure.
so one of my nieces just went back to school at Spelman, and so I looked at her lease, and it was a mess. I mean, the lease that the landlord gave, it had a bunch of, for example, check marks and kind of standard clauses, but they weren't checked off. So the lease was ambiguous. So start with the lease and make sure you understand it. And a lot of it's legalese, but if you look at, hey, when can you keep the rent? What's the security deposit? You can figure that kind of stuff out. So, and in Colorado, the tenant rights have expanded, particularly after the pandemic. There were a lot of laws that came in about you have to have 4 cause for eviction, a number of other things. One thing that I'd like to share with people is the notion of warranty of habitability. And what that means is, hey, if your landlord is not providing the essentials like heat, or the locks don't work, or broken windows, and they don't repair it in a certain amount of time, you can actually withhold rent and get it fixed. This isn't legal advice, everybody. Go and do your research. But this is just the broad base of the law. So you have a lot of rights under warranty of habitability. So, and in this case, the tenants would have some rights because they were kicked out of their place when they had the lease in place.
Know your rights, read the agreement. If not, go to your uncle who's a lawyer and ask them to read
Call
the
Uncle Whit.
Yes, call Uncle Whit. As always, thank you so much for coming in.
For sure.
All great information to know. Chris?